Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Tuesday's kind of a boring day, but we're going to try to make it fun like we always do. Who did I miss? Lydia says, Good morning from North Carolina. Thank you for being here, Lydia. Hello, Walking Dead. Sonia Gray made it in. Our gal ICU is in the house. Nani's here. Dynamite. I've got a show that is right up your alley tomorrow, Dynamite. I would love for you to grab the link and come up. Hello, Alibi. Halo Arts in the house. Crafty Chris. I think I got everybody else. And like I said last week, I'm saying it again. Thank you for being here for little Quentin. Thank you so much. I understand that it's not the hottest topic on the YouTube streets. That's okay. That's okay. But like I said, in October, we're going to follow this to the end because little Quentin didn't really get a lot of breaks in his life. Let's get to the heat. How's the heat treating you? We actually, I've got good news, have central air again. Woo! Now, OJ's going to miss the window units, but that's okay. That's okay. OJ's just going to have to live. He's in his stoop right now, looking out the window at birds. I had to take his bacon to the windowsill. Two Boston moms is back from vacation. Loved the pictures. Kaleida Hope is in. We had two shows yesterday. One about Alexi Treviso. If you missed it, go check it out. And then we had a very frustrating and confusing press conference about Carly Russell. Don't know what they're going to do to line that girl out, but they better get on it. And not to put anybody in a panic, but I'm going to have to. Today, it's July 25th. That leaves August, September, October, November, December. 5 months till Christmas, my friends. Now, you know, in a few weeks, I'm going to be asking if it's okay to put my tree up. We're going to have the Walmart conversation, why I don't go there again, and if it's what time's a good time to put the Christmas tree up. When do you guys start your Christmas shopping? Britt just said it's crazy. I know. Where did the year go? And hell of a year we've had here in Oklahoma. We had an ice storm that shut everything down. My husband couldn't go to work for a week. And then, of course, we had the 3 tornadoes last month. Had no power. And it zapped the air conditioner when good old Public Service of Oklahoma turned it back on. Joy says, I'm a last-minute person. She said, I'm a last-minute person. Good morning, Angel. ICU says Hobby Lobby already has their Christmas decorations out. Go figure. I actually had a comment on Facebook the other day from a woman. I can't remember who it was. Katrina, there's my girl. She says, I've done my shopping. You did that last year too, Katrina. You were done by August. Way to go, Katrina. But there was a woman on my Facebook, and she was talking about the Christmas stuff being out at Hobby Lobby, and she said, I'm making my husband take me on Saturday. Woo! I said, all right. Greg said, poor guy. Poor guy. Yep, Christmas in July, Katrina. It's right upon us. A lot of stuff going on in the true crime world. We have the crazy serial killer in Long Island. We're going to do a show about that in a few hours. Tomorrow we have a show about Summer Wells. On Thursday, it's going to be 2 years. Hopefully we don't have to do the show, and he's found since Michael Vaughn disappeared. Abducted by one of 4 or 5 nasty individuals that have been called out by the Fruitland police and the FBI and some others. We're going to have to touch on our girl Sarah Boone because she pulled some crazy recently. one thing after another. I understand there's a trial right now for show business. Whew. I say put her in a cell with Letitia, because they just about the same level of crazy. Just about the same level. All right, let's take a second and tell everybody good morning. Welcome, everybody. I don't like it when anybody doesn't get a welcome. And with the chat going, sometimes I miss people. And Cat's in the house. Thank you for the super sticker. Thank you so much for that, Cat. You are too good to me. Good morning, Peach State Mama. How are you feeling? Peach State Mama has the flu, not the pretend flu like Alexi Treviso had, but she has the flu. I had the flu during the summer one time, and let me tell you, it was horrific. I thought I was going to die. And then it turned into an upper respiratory infection. So I was on antibiotics for 4 or 5 days after that. I don't remember now. To me, when you get the flu in the summer, it's 10 times worse than the winter. I thought I was going to die. Thank you very much, Kat. All right, let's get to the comments from the last show. Billie went to court. She was on the stand. She kind of dropped a couple of bombs. She said that Leilani went to rehab 3 weeks leading up to the murder of Quentin Simon. We're going to talk about that because the timeline's not adding up for me. And you know how I'm about the time. Before we do the comments, let's go through the dispatch. Let's do that. This dispatch to me sheds a lot of light.
The morning he disappeared.
We have a signal 56. Plaintiff as her 1-year-old son is missing. She woke up, her door was open, but as he's unable to open a door, I think someone came in and took him.
Another update this morning, Chatham County Police Chief Jeff Hadley.
He's unable to open a door, so somebody must have come in and taken him. Now, several of her indictments are for lying to the police because she said Bubba had him. It's like she took a playbook. It's like a combination between Letitia and Megan Boswell, or Maggie, however you're familiar with her name. So Bubba has him. Then she gets to interrogation and she's blaming Danny. She lied all the way up until they arrested her. They let her hang herself.
Is now saying they're looking into everybody and everything, making the first mention of a potential criminal case.
We're looking at it from multiple fronts, and one of it being a criminal investigation, as well as, a missing child at this point. We don't have anything confirmed, so we can't say anything absolutely.
We spotted Chatham County police officers and FBI agents at the boys' home on Buckhalter Road yesterday. They were searching the home again and even draining the pool. All this as they continue to work to figure out what happened to little Quentin. Don't forget, Chatham County Police has also set up.
Well, they more than figured it out because Lazy, Cat came up with that name, by the way, is in the clink. She's got a lot of big indictments and charges on her. And as you know, her defense team, who must have zero soul, is trying to have a lot of her charges thrown out. I don't get it. Let's get to the comments. Got to put on the readers. Saint Rocketall said, "Let me add that my husband obtained custody of his oldest grandson at 11 months due to his daughter and her husband being drug users. They could not see him unless it was supervised by one of us or another family member. My husband saw fit. Aunt, grandmother, uncle. Had we left the child alone with either parent and something would have happened, my husband would have been charged. Just like Billie should be charged. He and I especially knew better. I didn't like them in my home because they were always under the influence and saying to him that they would get him back, but they never did. Good for you guys. Good for you for doing the right thing for that little baby. Getting him away from his mother and father. I have a feeling they're probably divorced by now. You never know. And taking the plan seriously that was given to them by the powers that be, that if they remove a child from a parent, that parent is considered unsafe. We get to this. This is why I believe Billie, when this trial is over, is going to be in trouble. We know she served 10 days for contempt of court. It says the maternal grandmother has a permanent guardianship order as to the child Zane. She also had it for little Quentin, pursuant to documents from the juvenile court of Burke County. According to Billie, it was a civil agreement, kind of a handshake, pat on the back type of thing between her and her daughter. No, the government was very much involved, Billie. The maternal grandmother failed to provide adequate supervision for the child Zane by leaving the child Zane in the home in the care of the mother, a person the maternal grandmother knew or should have known was unfit to provide proper care while the maternal grandmother traveled out of state. An article on WSAV said the Division of Family and Children's Services in Chatham County, Georgia, found she had failed to provide adequate supervision and that the children they've been placed in foster care. That's what happens, Billie. That's what happens when you don't do what you were supposed to do. According to Billie, Leilani went to rehab. Cry me a river. She obviously didn't take very good notes in her journals. T. Harrison said child abuse does lead to murder. Seems to be an argument on the YouTube streets, which I could really care less about, saying that, well, here's an example. Because Don and Candace Wells are negligent parents, it doesn't make them kidnappers or traffickers or murderers. One creator in particular keeps saying that it's ludicrous for me to even bring up the past child abuse. Let's talk about some other children whose past child abuse led to their very horrific and untimely deaths. Harmony Montgomery, Gabriel Fernandez, Olivia Jansen, Evelyn Boswell, Oakley Carlson, Cody Bigsby, Oakley Snow. I can go on and on. Quentin Simon. You're telling me? There's another one, Serenity McKinney. Yes. So for these people to say, lay off of Don and Candace, well, we'll talk about that more tomorrow. John Taylor says Billie Joe should go down like her daughter. She's an accomplice. They were celebrating when he went missing. Reminds me so much of the Summer Wells case. It does me in a way too, because they don't want to be bothered with this. Went to Tybee Island and tied one on, flirting with waiters, splitting a steak, having some shots. They were loud, made themselves known, sitting in the backyard on whatever they could get a hold of, sitting in the front yard singing and shit. No. People buying them gifts. We just want to make Billie feel good. Well, it's not like they can get out and get groceries. Send Tommy. Send Paul. Call Instacart. Nail gift certificates, a friendship ring, pizza delivered. Gotta be kidding me. Disco balls. Ridiculous. This was from our Facebook group. Jeannie was nice enough to make a Facebook group for Quentin. And this guy named Junior said, and yet she chose to tell Diana. Now he's talking about Billie, and we're going to get to that because I'm very furious about this. And yet she chose, Billie, to tell Diana it was fine to lie lazy take Quentin home. 3 weeks isn't even enough time to finish a rehab program. It was reported by Billie on the stand under oath, that Leilani went to rehab before Quentin's murder 3 weeks leading up to. I'm not sure I buy this, because the weeks before Quentin was murdered, there was a lot of turmoil at the Burkhalter house. Cops were called about a laundry incident. There was a child support order served. Evictions. I mean, unless it was outpatient, I don't know. Billie's own words on another channel was, she told Diana, it's fine to give Leilani a chance to be a mother. It's fine to let Leilani give her a chance to be a mother. This is Billie's handwriting. This would be within the 3-week period that she says Leilani was in rehab. Not looking to be compensated, just want them to move out as quick as possible. Leilani Simon is my daughter, 22 years old with her boyfriend and 3 kids. They have damaged my property, and at this point, no one is living in peace. Not looking to be compensated, just want them to move out as quick as possible. Signed, Billie Joe Howe. Let's think about that. Let's think about that. And please don't forget, back in October and November, people were rewarding a woman who failed her grandchildren that she had permanent guardianship of and raised 2 murderers. I wouldn't give her nothing. No. This is what she said. It's hard to even look at Leilani, but here we go.
Simon's lawyers want to drop several of her charges. The accused murderer appeared in a Chatham County courtroom today. WJCL 22 News' Andy Cole is joining us live from outside that courthouse. And Andy, walk us through what happened.
Yeah, Brooke, today's hearing covered the motion to squash the subpoena to get Leilani's journals. And they also heard arguments on the defense's motion to get rid of a few indictments, several charges on the indictment. Now, today, Leilani's lawyers began the motion.
Okay, they filed a motion to quash the journals being put into evidence, which really upsets the hell out of me. Now, Vinny on Court TV seems to be confused because if my memory serves me right, Billie did give the journals over. But the rehab, I'm really tired. There are people that are struggling with addiction and would do anything for help. It's kind of like the people that fake cancer or the people that fake pregnancies in a way. So for her to say, 3 weeks leading up to his murder, she was in drug rehab. And then what did we hear the day that she was arrested? At home. I had to get her out of a rehab and take her for egg rolls at the China King and then take her to the FBI. You're kidding me? The chief of police says she doesn't deserve a Thanksgiving, but you think he thinks she deserves a damn egg roll? He said they did not allow her that. People are crazy.
Hearing by calling Leilani's mother, Billie Jo Howell, to the witness stand. In her testimony, Howell admitted her daughter, Leilani Simon, had been in a drug recovery home for 3 weeks leading up to Quentin's murder.
How can she be in a drug recovery home 3 weeks leading up to his murder? There was an eviction. The police were there when Leilani says, I don't want any trouble because I'm on probation. This was in this 3 weeks. I don't want to accuse anybody of something they didn't do, but it sounds like she might have perjured herself. How can the police have been at the door laying eyes on a lying lie lazy who said, I don't want any trouble, I'm on probation? How can you evict her if she's in a rehab, in a sober living facility or whatever? There wouldn't have been an argument if she was over there. Was she just gonna leave the kids with Danny? We're gonna have to go through this timeline before we get to it. So this is what she says 3 weeks prior. This is important.
Drug recovery home for 3 weeks leading up to Quentin's murder back in October 2022. Howell said she turned over 7 journals to the court that she claimed she never knew existed before the subpoena. Howell also testified that her daughter told her she uses writing as a way to work through grief. The judge also heard arguments for the defenses over their motions to throw out the murder and some false reporting charges. No judgments were made today. Judge Stokes says she will take time to deliberate over these arguments and make a decision in sometime soon. We will, of course, be on top of that.
And I'm not worried about Judge Tammy Stokes. She is very staunch. And for her to say, I'm going to take some time on this. Let me think about this. That's good. Let Leilani sweat. Let her sweat in the clink. I don't care. And in the meantime, I'd be saying, do you have any rehab records for me? Because I happen to see that the police were at your house in this 3-week period. So you're telling me Danny stayed there while she was at this drug rehab home, as she called it, a drug recovery home? No. And no, we do not know when the trial is. I do know that Court TV said it's going to be allowed to be televised and we will be streaming it here. I'm not missing a minute of it. Not at all. Oh, my stuff's out of order. Okay, so let's get some dates together. Good night, Al said, I listen to Brooks every morning, but usually cannot chat because I'm making my hubby's lunchbox for work. I got you. I know how that is. Let's get some dates together. All right. October 5th is when Quentin was murdered. Now, I don't know anything about rehab. I don't know how long it takes. But 3 weeks leading up to, Leilani was at the home. She was there. Something here is not adding up. Now, if it's a simple mistake on Billie's part, that she doesn't have her dates correct, then that's one thing. I'm not buying it. Just like the whole lie about how she went and got her out of rehab because they wouldn't allow anyone to do it except for her. You're telling me if Chatham County or the FBI went to the rehab with a warrant, they'd say, no, we can only deal with Billie. Go ahead, Federal Bureau of Investigation. You can just take that shit somewhere else. We only deal with Billie around here. No. Look at this timeline.
Is 20 months old. Quentin Simon hasn't been seen for 60 hours. In those moments, we have told you a lot about the search to find him. But to tell you about the environment he was living in, we have to back up weeks. September 7th, police were called to Quentin's grandparents' home, where Quentin, his mother, her boyfriend, 2 other children, and the
Okay, September 7th, the police were called. Now, this is not in the 3-week window. This would be about a month prior to Quentin's murder. Quentin, Leilani, Daniel, 2 other children, Tommy and Billie, are at the house. Okay, that's September 7th. So I'm not going to pick on the 3 weeks with the police going there.
Grandparents live. There was a fight, this police report says, between Quentin's mom, Leilani Simon, and her mother, Billie Jo Howell. Leilani called the cops on her mom. When officers showed up, she told them she was on probation and didn't want trouble. We don't know what that probation is for. The report says when police officers...
She stole some lemonade, cigarettes, and chips from Love's in North Carolina. That's what her probation's for. You steal from an employer in North Carolina, it's a felony.
Officers talked with Leilani's brother. He told them that Quentin's mom had a history of stealing and used the money to buy drugs. A day later, September 8th, Billie Jo Howell wanted her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend out. She filed for eviction. According to the document, she didn't want any money. She just wanted her 22-year-old daughter, Leilani, her boyfriend, Daniel Youngkin, and the 3 kids to leave.
Now, how can Billie, in her own handwriting, tell the 3 kids to leave? The baby is one thing. She says it right here. And they're 3 kids. They have damaged my property. And at this point, no one is living in peace. Now, she told another channel she did that to light a fire under Leilani's ass. With all of her talk on YouTube, she never mentioned rehab. But after swearing on a Bible and sitting right next to a judge with a bailiff next to her, she said 3 weeks prior she was in a rehab. 3 weeks. And she tells Diana, it's okay. I don't want her to be shortchanged. I want her to be a mother.
Kids to leave quickly. Here's where the grandmother wrote it. They damaged her property, and no one is living in peace. September 16th, Leilani and Daniel found out about the eviction, but we now know as recently as last Wednesday, the 2 were still living here. That gets us...
Okay, as of last Wednesday, the 2 were still living here. Okay, she said 3 weeks, the 3 weeks up till his murder. Brett says, we know that the 2, when they were served on September 16th, which is in the 3-week timeline, the 2 were still living here. Now we get to October 5th, the day of the murder.
To Wednesday, the morning little Quentin was last seen. At 5:29 a.m., babysitter Diana McCarta got a text message. She told us it was from Quentin's mom, saying Diana didn't have to watch the kids today. Police told us the boyfriend, who we now know is Daniel Youngkin, left for work at 6 a.m. Police say that's the last time Quentin was seen. 9 a.m., another text message to babysitter Diana, this time from a grandparent, asking if Diana had seen the toddler. The 911 call, 42 minutes.
Okay, this was from a grandparent to Diana. Now, I've heard it both ways. I've heard that Danny texted Diana, and I've heard that Billie texted Diana. Either way, she'd already been told. And the night before, Billie said, go ahead and let Leilani have the kids. She needs to learn to be a mother. I don't want her. What was her phrase again? Hang on. Her exact quote was, it's fine. Give her a chance to be a mother. These are Billie's words, not mine. Well, look what happened.
Later, at 9:42 a.m., The WSAV investigative unit has asked Chatham County Police for that call. So far, they haven't answered our request. We know from the family, Leilani told police that Quentin's father took the child. The family said that story didn't make sense. And by 2:30 that afternoon, police said the father wasn't involved. By Wednesday night, the effort to find Quentin involved the FBI, 2 helicopters, a drone, police on horses, tracking dogs, and officers going door to door. Thursday, we watched federal agents search dumpsters, ditches, drain pipes, and the woods.
Now, according to the Daily Mail, Bubba had made, and I don't know their situation, all I know is what I read. Bubba had made a lot of attempts to be in his son's life, but was always told, Danny's his daddy now. Quentin's sick. You can't see Quentin. The reason I do believe Bubba is because Zane's father had a similar story. And if you don't want to deal with Leilani, then you're going to get a taste of her mother. So I do believe them. Now, should they have done something about that? Yep. But in this case, I have to remember the one in jail for the big M is Leilani. The one that knew or should have known she was unfit and told Diana it was fine for her to have the kids would be Billie. Knew or should have known. And that's a government document. That's not this civil thing that she's talking about. All right, now we get to what has come out at the pretrial hearing. This is on their website, so bear with me. This is on Court TV on the docket.
Little Quentin Simon was just 20 months old when he was last seen in his home in Savannah, Georgia on October 5th, 2022. He lived with his mother, Leilani Simon, her boyfriend, Danny Youngkin, and his grandmother, Billie Jo Howell.
The boyfriend woke up, saw the child at 6 a.m. Mother woke up at some other time later and reported the child missing at 9:39, I believe. The call came into 911.
Local police and FBI began searching for Quentin that very day.
We have yet to locate little Quentin. We continue to investigate this incident. We got some assistance from the FBI. We got numerous interviews to conduct today, as well as downloading phones and things of that nature.
Leilani Simon tells police that Quentin's biological father, Henry Bubba Moss, took him, so authorities go to Bubba's home more than an hour away.
He was.
Okay, so that's one of the many lies that we know about. Bubba has him. What are you saying, Lazy? He told the Daily Mail that every time he tried to make contact with his son, it was always some excuse all the time. They went and saw Bubba personally and cleared him real quick. So they already knew they'd been lied to once. So when the chief is talking to everybody saying, oh, everything's on the table. We don't know about, there's no foul play or anything right now. They already knew. Scratch a lie, find a thief.
Being questioned about where he was overnight, October 4th into October 5th, and proved to police satisfaction anyway that he had nothing to do with it.
Has there been any contact with Quentin's biological father?
We have had contact with him. He's not a suspect.
After a week of searching for little Quentin, the Chatham County Police confirms everyone's worst fear. Quentin is believed to be dead, and his mother, Leilani, is the primary suspect, but no charges or arrests are made.
And the chief was adamant about that. We're not going to do anything to jeopardize the case. But people on their phones thought they knew better. That's okay. That's the way it works. What we found out later was it was the district attorney that would not file charges until they found Quentin, and they did everything they could. It wasn't like they were out there sifting through waste management. They brought in agents from Quantico, Virginia. Jules of All Trade True Crime said, I hope he's doing well, about Bubba. Think about this. He lost his son and his parents all around the same time. And let me tell you something. When they're ready to release Quentin's remains, and I'm telling you, this gives a whole new definition to remains, because the prosecutor spoke out last week and said this was not a neat process. Waste management, they have 50-ton steamrollers. He was compacted. We found a bone here, some tissue here, found a little baby tooth. And Billie lied to everybody and said that his remains were in a casket at the FBI. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. It was hard for me to even stomach hearing that. Still is. And Billie has gone about her life knowing that she knew, or should have known, Quentin was in danger with his mother. She was told, but did whatever the hell she wanted to do.
What are you doing? What is going on here? Where's the FBI? Where's Secret Service? Somebody needs to find this baby and lock her up.
After that announcement, all eyes turned to Leilani. Protesters, podcasters, and YouTubers gather outside of her home day and night. Nearly 3 weeks after Quentin was reported missing, Leilani and her mother finally speak out in an interview with WTOC News.
And if something does come up that I am at fault, I will take myself to that police station.
Then 47 days after Quentin vanished, law enforcement find remains.
Okay, this is another one. Leilani, the day after her arrest, I believe, I did a live. That's really all I ever do. Where's Summer said, I can't stand Billie Joe. I called out Where's Summer, my very first show. And I said, Where's Summer? Keep your eye on her, because she's going to lose it. She is going to lose it. She wanted to rip Billie a new one. So she says, I will take myself down there. Now, we heard in the last show, and we've heard it many times before, that the chief said they did not allow her that privilege. Now, if you remember, we had a couple of crazies in here after she got arrested and said, Brooks, you need to do your research. Billie went and got her out of rehab and took her to China King for her last meal and then took her to the FBI. Hell, then Court TV ran with it and had to correct themselves. Right here is where Brett Buffington said she was arrested at home. So in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, we have two rehab lies. We already heard from WSAV that she was served eviction papers, while Billie said she was at a drug rehab home. Then we hear she was in rehab and they would only deal with Billie, not the FBI, chief of police, sheriff, or anything like that. Brett Buffington cleared it up. Here's the clip.
Circumstances of her arrest, where and when it happened?
We know she was picked up from her home and taken to the Chatham County Detention Center. That happened just as they were making that arrest, or making that announcement on yesterday. They told us that they didn't want anyone to have any exclusives in this case. They would release this to every affiliate here in Savannah at the same time. And they kept their word to that. I can tell you that they called the news directors and they gave us a heads up that there was an announcement coming. They made that announcement. And we know that she was quickly booked into the Chatham County Jail. She was supposed to have a bond here.
Okay, so right there, Brett said the police didn't want anybody to have an exclusive. They arrested her at home. We saw her walking in that pink hoodie. And then they said, we're going to have an announcement, and called the news directors. These freaking people.
Remains of a human child in a local landfill, and they arrest Leilani Simon.
Our search teams at the waste management landfill found what they believed were human remains.
This afternoon, the FBI lab in Quantico, Virginia confirmed that they are, in fact, human remains. Additional testing, including a DNA analysis, is being conducted, and we have every reason to believe that this will confirm the remains are Quentin's.
And now Quentin's mom, Leilani Simon, charged with his murder. Big hearing in court today. Number one, trying to get the murder charges tossed because baby Quentin's remains, when they were found, you could not determine exactly how the baby died. And they're trying to say we can't determine how the baby died, then, you know, these murder charges have to be tossed. That was part of their arguments. Also today, the issue involving some journals kept by Leilani Simon, the accused murdering teenage mom. So Leilani's mom, baby Quentin's grandma, on the stand today talking about those journals.
Were you served with a subpoena on or about January 25th of this year?
Yes, sir.
And do you order to produce journals, diaries, or other writings of your daughter?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At that time, your daughter was incarcerated?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, prior to getting the subpoena, were you even aware of whether or not there were any journals, diaries, or other writings that belonged to your daughter?
Yes, sir.
Is it fair to say that the last bedroom that she actually slept in your house was the downstairs bedroom from which Clinton disappeared?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so on the stand, Billie is saying she knew nothing about any journals, but when she was on Cher's channel, and I can't find the clip, it seems to be gone because I made fun of it. She said a lot of times Leilani writes out her feelings. I don't know what the hell's going on around here. Listen to that again.
Journals, diaries, or other writings of your daughter?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At that time, your daughter was incarcerated?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, prior to getting the subpoena, were you even aware of whether or not there were any journals, diaries, or other writings that belonged to your daughter?
Yes, sir.
Is it fair to say that the last bedroom that she actually slept in your house was the downstairs bedroom from which Clinton disappeared?
Yes, sir.
So regardless of what room it was in, it was all in a container which you had no right to have access to. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And
How can she not have access to something in her home? How can she not have access to something in her home? She had the lady balls to evict Leilani, Danny, and the 3 kids, 2 of which she had permanent guardianship of. But she can't get into some container that's got journals in it where Leilani writes her feelings. Wouldn't she want to know what happened to her grandson? That's the reason they want him.
that was her private belongings, correct?
Yes, sir.
There's no question that my client never waived or shared or told anybody about these journals and diaries that were maintained in luggage that came from the recovery place that were put in a place for her in her house. This is her residence, where she has an expectation of privacy.
So, should the journals be turned over to investigators and to the prosecution? And by the way,
Let's take a poll. Should the journals be turned over to the investigators and prosecutors? My vote is yes. Anything that gets justice for baby Quentin, my answer is yes. But her attorneys want to quash the subpoena. Why? If all she's doing is saying, "Are you there, God? It's me, Leilani. I met a guy at the swim hole, so I'm done with the other guy. I think I'm going to have another baby with him. Are you there, God? It's me, Leilani. I'm fighting with my mom again. If that's all that's in there, then why are they trying to quash it? Because they know there's some damning evidence in it. They wouldn't spend their time fighting on this unless there was something damning in it.
What's in those journals? Seems like there might be something in there if the defense is fighting so hard to keep the prosecution from getting them. Let's bring back in our think tank, Marsha Mignon, Bernardo Villolona, Randy Kessler. Marsha, you're in Georgia. This is a Georgia case. What are your thoughts about these journals?
I think there is a reasonable expectation of privacy to the journals. However, if the court finds that there might be an admission in those journals, then the court is going to grant the motion to allow the state.
And this chick, I love her clothes, but she's a defense attorney and always takes up for the suspects. So grin and bear it. It's tough.
To subpoena those journals. What they had today was a special demurrer. And a special demurrer is their argument that, you know, hey, the indictment is not clear enough. We don't have sufficient information to be able to determine what we're charged with and what we're going to charge. But I think the state's problem with this case is that they can't say how the child died. And if the child died accidentally, as in the Casey Anthony case.
Throw a penalty flag. Randy, do you have a flag? Throw the flag. Throw the flag.
That's what I'm talking about. This woman still believes that Kaylee Anthony died by accident. Like I said, grin and bear it.
There we go. Let me recover. I get you. I mean, that's what they argued. But Bernarda, you don't have to prove exactly how a victim died, just that they're dead and they were murdered and it was the defendant who did it, right?
And the key piece that you just stated, that key element, is that they were murdered. So the cause and manner of death having to deal with homicide and at the hands of another. So having to prove
let's put this together.
Is going to be crucial.
Let's put this. Well, how do we solve cases where the body's never found? I mean, I've covered many cases here.
That's why you're going to use the surrounding evidence. That's circumstantial evidence. For example,
he was in the garbage. He was in the garbage. She threw him in the garbage.
But remember the case of Skylar Richardson. Remember that case, the teenager who actually buried her child after giving birth to her and buried the.
You're talking about someone like Alexi who was trying to cover up a pregnancy. This is different. Now, do not forget that the district attorney, who I think is wonderful, has asked for all evidence of prior child abuse. Again, many times, child abuse leads to what happened to little baby Quentin. This is not a teen mom situation. Not that there's any excuse for that. And I believe that jury got it wrong.
The child out in the backyard. What was the issue? How the child actually died? Well,
we know baby Quentin was alive. But we know baby Quentin was alive. Skylar Richardson's child, we don't know if the child was alive.
Yes, that was a crucial element. But in this case, as I'm saying, the prosecution has to rely on the circumstantial evidence, the other
I
evidence.
got you. But Marsha's scaring me tonight, Randy. Marsha's scaring me tonight. She did that on purpose. Right here at the end of the last show, almost the last segment of the week, she's got to drop that on me.
That's what Georgia lawyers do, right? Georgia lawyers are good ones. They're and I think she's right. I think Marsha's right. The expectation of privacy.
And now Randy's on it now.
Come on, who's gonna ever write a journal when she's told keep a journal and it's under psychological privilege and she starts writing stuff? Who in the world is gonna ever keep a journal if they're worried that what they write in the journal is gonna come back to be used against them? I'm gonna write stuff in my journal like, you know what I dream about sometimes? I dream about Vinny Politan, and man, if I ever got him alone, you know, and God forbid something bad happens to Vinny and they find my journal. Look, you know,
you're the first suspect, then she's number two. All right.
Come on, Vinny. I see the way you play basketball. Sometimes you can get on people's nerves. You're a tough guy in the basketball court.
Insane. So they're still fighting over that. should the, of course, they want charges thrown out. They want charges thrown out. Billie has conveniently given 2 rehab stories. We have a mental illness story. I think baby Quentin deserves a little bit more than this from his grandmother that was supposed to protect him. She had permanent guardianship, not temporary. She had permanent. Permanent. Let's go back to the document. A person the maternal grandmother knew or should have known was unfit to provide proper care while the maternal grandmother traveled out of state. They're saying she knew. She knew. And this is what an ostrich in the sand Billie is. She texts another creator and says, Quentin has passed. He's in a landfill and my daughter done it. She has no memory of it. The creator said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Not a phone call, not what can I do? Do you need anything? I'm so sorry. Quentin has passed. That is a term you would use if Quentin had childhood cancer, if Quentin had pneumonia, if Quentin had meningitis, a bad flu. Quentin was murdered. So even with that, you can't say what has happened. To me, this is such disrespect. He has passed. Like it was peacefully in his sleep. No. While you were out of town, Billie, and Tommy was out of town, and let me tell you, Tommy should have known too. But he didn't. There's no paperwork saying he has a guardianship. So while you were out of town, all hell broke loose. You knew stuff had been drumming up around there. The police were involved. You tried to evict all of them. Thank you, Pat, for gifting Crime Lines and Lies memberships. Look at that. Pat's making it rain. Now, I have a feeling Billie was probably sweating bullets when they told her, you're going to deliver these to us. Now, they're going to argue right to privacy. We already know that Leilani wasn't paying rent there. Good morning, vet girl. We already know that she wasn't paying rent there. So what right to privacy? She's a deadbeat on the couch. You have guardianship of Quentin and Zane. This is an older clip. This goes back from January. Listen to this.
The mother of Leilani Simon, the woman accused of killing her 20-month-old son, appeared in court today. Billie Joe Howell gave 8 notebooks to the court. The judge had previously requested Leilani Simon's journals and dental records. We also learned Howell did not testify today, but she will later. Leilani Simon was not in court. Again, Leilani Simon charged with the murder of her toddler son, Quentin Simon. We told you he vanished in Savannah back on October 5th. FBI agents and local law enforcement found his remains at a Savannah landfill on November 18th.
And they subpoenaed it. They didn't make a call and say, hey, we know about these journals. They had to do a subpoena. Susie Sue said they'll just rip the pages out like Casey Anthony's journal was. It was missing a lot of pages. I'll tell you what, you're on thin ice, Billie. You are on thin ice. And this right here just makes me so mad. Quentin has passed as if Quentin had pneumonia or meningitis. Quentin has passed. She also is an amateur lawyer, and we're going to get to that in a minute. I love when people try to defend themselves. What do they say? Anyone that represents themselves in court or tries to, they have a fool for a client. Yeah, there's a reason that it takes 3 days to pass the bar exam. We recently heard about Critical K, who got slapped with $500,000 she has to pay to Ray Andrecchio because she decided to represent herself. I wouldn't want that hanging over my head unless I was living in it. We'll get to that in a second. Because as all of this was going on, and Billie's aware that Quentin has been murdered. Good point, Trev. Trev says, and we know about Daryl Brooks. That was something else, man. The state steps in and says, no, Billie. You and Leilani can't be anywhere around the 2 surviving children in the home. Now, Billie was raising a lot of money online to get the rooms ready. And I'm like, why weren't their rooms already ready? They were living with you. What is going on around here? Funeral costs. I mean, you name it. There was no chance in hell a snowball in Cuba would survive better than her trying to get the grandkids.
5, I'm Dawn Baker.
And I'm Mike Seelan. The woman police say is the prime suspect in the death of her 20-month-old boy appeared in Chatham County Court today. It was about the custody of her other 2 children.
WTOC was the only news station in the hearing. Our Shay Schrader was in the courtroom.
The grandfather of one of Leilani Simon's other children drove 4 hours to be at today's hearing, saying it's incredibly important to him to support his grandchild. He says the safety of that grandchild is at the top of his mind, knowing that the child's mother is the suspect in the death of one of her other children.
Now, my understanding is that Zane's paternal grandfather has filed the paperwork. He's got people walking him through the process to get custody of Zane. Good. Now, what Danny and his mom are doing about little baby Sky, I don't know. The only good thing about Sky is that she's going to be too young to remember. But remember, the internet is forever. So as these children get older, all they have to do is type in Quentin Simon, and they're going to understand what their mother did.
Leilani Simon arrived to the Chatham County Juvenile Courthouse today wearing a face mask and a dress and took a seat next to her lawyer.
Now, Billie doesn't have a COVID mask on. Have you noticed, like Kayla Montgomery, stepmeth? They wear those rags on their face because they think it hides them. It's all right, Leilani. We know who you are.
On the other side of the bench was her mother, Billie Howell, who had custody of Quentin before he disappeared and still has custody of Leilani's oldest child. The 2 sat with their lawyers between them and didn't have much interaction. There were roughly 10 other family members in the courtroom today. There were also a lot of police both in the courtroom and outside of it. WTOC was the only news outlet at today's hearing. We requested to have a camera in the courtroom, but that request was denied. Judge Thomas Cole said it was to protect the privacy and safety of the children involved. The courtroom was...
Imagine. Now, we've heard what Bubba has had to say. And again, this is not my family, so I don't know. We've heard what Bubba, who is Quentin's father, has had to say about how when he would try to make contact with Quentin, how he was brushed under the rug, given excuses, one thing after another. A lot of people were like, I don't believe him. I don't believe him. Well, Zane's father said the same thing. It was a nightmare. So imagine with this parental alienation going on, when Billie and Leilani, knowing doomsday is coming for Leilani and possibly Billie, when they walk in and they see daddy's families in there, I bet they weren't too happy about that.
We requested to have a camera in the courtroom, but that request was denied. Judge Thomas Cole said it was to protect the privacy and safety of the children involved. The courtroom was also sealed from the public, and we had to leave before the bulk of the hearing started. The people that were allowed to stay in the courtroom also weren't allowed to tell us anything regarding the case because they're under a gag order. To be clear, today's hearing wasn't a criminal matter.
And there was a gag order, still is. Some people say that her breaking that gag order on another channel was the contempt of court, and that's why she got the 10 days. Or could the contempt of court be this? The maternal grandmother failed to provide adequate supervision for the child Zane by leaving the child Zane in the home in the care of the mother, a person the maternal grandmother knew or should have known was unfit to provide proper care. I don't know.
It was pertaining to the custody of Leilani Simon's other two children, Quentin's siblings. We do know that legally, hearings like today's have to happen 3 days after an emergency order to remove a child from a home or DFACS requesting a child be removed from a home. We did ask for any records pertaining to today's hearings, but were denied because the hearings were closed to the public. Leilani Simon is the only suspect in the disappearance and presumed death of Quentin Simon, though she hasn't been charged with anything. I did reach out to the Chatham County Police Department to see if they had any updates in the search for Quentin Simon, and they told me they didn't have anything to share. Reporting in Chatham County, Shay Schrader, WTOC News.
All right, so it took 3 days for them to get the emergency order, knowing that Chatham County, this is where I have a problem with this. Chatham County has already said at this point that they believe Quentin is no longer alive and Leilani is the prime suspect. So was the 3 days, why didn't they do an emergency removal? I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, so I'm not blaming these social workers. In that same county, just a few weeks ago, they did an emergency removal same day. Same day. I don't know the difference because, of course, it's sealed. They have to do with, with children, and they deserve their privacy. They do. Obviously, if the mainstream media, professional journalists are covering it, then it's okay for me. And as we know, losing all the children just seemed to not knock any sense into either Billie or Leilani. None. Neither Billie or Lazy seem to understand the gravity of the situation. I don't know if it's the substances, denial. I don't know. But they already knew that they had to go to court. And you've got Bubba's family. You've got Cody's family. I believe, if I heard correctly, Danny was there. Danny's mother. That couldn't have been a good feeling for people that want to keep all of this stuff under wraps. They went to Tybee Island and partied it up. They were in the backyard, hooting and hollering. And then this one. Leilani's on the front lawn, sitting by Mommy Dearest, singing.
WSAV's lead investigative reporter, Brett Buffington, is joining us now live at the Joint Task Force Command Center near the landfill. Brett, where do things stand tonight?
Tina, I can tell you those searchers, they have gone home for the day and for the week. They will suspend their search at that landfill over the weekend as they did last weekend. It's a time for them to essentially regroup in their efforts, take some type of break, as well as the landfill does close for the weekend. So they have gone home. They will resume their search on Monday morning at daybreak. I can tell you they can't tell us exactly how much trash they have gone through or if they have found anything relevant to this case. Speaking of Quentin's mom, as you did at the beginning of this story, let me show you some brand new video we just got. This is out front of Quentin's home. It is Bulkhalter Road, about 7 miles from where this command center is. This is the first time we have seen this. Protesters, they
Watch Leilani. Okay, you got the dude sitting there smoking a cigarette, whatever. The foot in the left-hand corner where my mouse is, that's Billie. Now watch Leilani. Not Brett. Watch Leilani. Look at that face. Void. Void of emotion. Void. Don't forget how Billie explained it. Quentin has passed. He's in a landfill, and my daughter done it. She has no memory of it. Now, let me tell you, if you were told that your grandbaby was in a waste management landfill, rats, vermin, you know the stuff that we throw away, and that your child did it, wouldn't you have more than emojis and a couple of sentences? He didn't pass. He was murdered. There was no passing. He was murdered. Now look at Leilani.
we just got. This is out front of Quentin's home. It is Bulkhalter Road, about 7 miles from where this command center is. This is the first time we have seen this. Protesters, they have been in front of that house for at least 2 weeks now, and Quentin's been missing for 3. But those protesters today met with Billie Jo Howell, Quentin's grandmother, and Leilani Simon, Quentin's mom, out front. They, of course, screaming justice for Quentin back at those protesters. There was some kind of a debacle there earlier today. The police have been called at least twice today.
Billie's on the phone. They're sitting in the front yard. People are outside wanting her to turn her damn self in, confess, whatever. Looks like, was she got a magazine or an iPad or something? And they're yelling justice for Quentin. I would have, you know what? She wouldn't have been at my house. She wouldn't have been at my house. I believe the jury's going to see all this too.
Back to that home once we know from the police department involving signs. Meanwhile, let's get to new pictures we got today from the Chatham County Police Department and the FBI. This is an update of the intense and the incredible amount of work that they have to do in this search. You can see just those piles of trash. I can tell you from what we've been told by the FBI, they essentially bring trash from where they believe this dumpster that Quentin's body was in was dumped. They search through 2 lines of trash, and as soon as one of those lines is done, they bring in another one. Tina?
And that is so important. And that's going to be a big thing, I believe, with the jury. Excuse me. Not Jerry, the jury. I think they're going to have several of these agents on the stand to explain the conditions, the air quality, what they were up against, the danger, knowing that it was only a 5% chance that they were going to find Quentin. And as the prosecutor's office said last week, they found a bone here, tissue here. And then you have these crazies that are like, why are they taking the weekend off? Because Quentin is not out there alive. They have to regroup. They have to sift through what they have. Also, the landfill is closed on the weekends. Who are you going to get to come and let them in and out? Sick. Cannot believe some of these people. Can't understand normal thinking, if you know what I mean. It's crazy. I told you about that woman in Utah. Her husband put her in the dumpster with an old mattress and everything. One of the agents that was looking for her got a bloodborne pathogen. Forever he will have it. Forever he will have it. All right, so now Billie's getting real pissed. This is before they found Quentin. This is Billie Jo Howell, Esquire. This is how she does it. Dear YouTube /Google, I give Cher Lynette, let's say Welch or Winch, whose YouTube handle is Voices Behind the Wall. She's family friend, and I give her permission to strike content and creators, whomever is using my family's current tragedy to further harm and harass my family and is speaking false information on my family and current situation, and is sharing pictures that I have been sharing pictures that have been altered, and is feeding into the media frenzy that my family has been thrown into. There is a current gag order on our family situation, and many creators and channels have been and continue to make matters much worse. What? If it's in the news, we can talk about it. Guess the gag order had nothing to do with me. The gag order had to do with Billie, Tommy, LaLazy, Danny, Cody, Bubba, and their families. So she's giving Cher permission to go around and strike people? Well, guess where that got her? I mean, this letter in her thumb might have gotten her down the highway if somebody was nice enough to pick her up. What a stupid, stupid thing to sit there and write out and do a live about. She's out of her damn mind. Gotta be kidding me. Then we get to the ultimate insult to injury, which it's hard to pick one considering what Quentin's little body went through. But this is the mother that was yelling justice for Quentin outside, standing in front of the garage as a backdrop with the grandmother who knew or should have known Leilani was unfit and should have never, ever been alone with him.
Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us for the news at 6. I'm Dawn Baker. In a WTOC exclusive, Leilani Simon, the mother of missing Chatham County toddler Quentin Simon, is speaking out tonight for the very first time since he was reported missing nearly 3 weeks ago. Chatham County Police and the FBI believe Quentin is dead and are actively searching a local landfill for his remains. Police say Leilani is the only suspect in his disappearance as well as his death. And tonight we have team coverage with our Shay Schrader and investigative reporter Max Dieknike. We begin with Shay, who joins us live outside of the Simon home. Shay, what did she talk to you about?
Leilani and I spoke about a number of things, including what she remembers from the morning she first reported Quentin missing to what life has been like as the days have gone on, still with no sign of Quentin. I talked to Leilani as well as her mother, Billie Howell, who were both just distraught over Quentin's disappearance. They say they've been harassed in the days and weeks since Quentin.
I don't know how Shay kept a straight face saying that they are so distraught. They're so distraught. They were singing in the front yard. They were in the backyard bitching about the pool. Billie put on Facebook. She said, "Can someone help me come fix my pool?" She wanted the FBI to get her a new liner and fill it up with chemicals and everything. They don't do that. Now, I'm sure according to Jennifer Coffindaffer, they're supposed to, but no, they don't do that. Just like when they broke Brian Kahlberger's windows, the SWAT team. They didn't show up the next day and say, "Hey, would you like us to replace these with Pella windows? Trying to give you an upgrade here, trying to be fair." No.
Disappeared, but Leilani wants everybody to know that she's not running away.
I'm here. I've been here every day since this. I am not running and I'm not hiding. And if something does come up, that I am at fault.
Police have repeatedly said that though they've named,
if it comes up and something was my fault, she's on camera at the dumpster. I have a video on the channel where the people that are at the trailer park and work there say the FBI came and interviewed them and got all the cameras. She said she was there to get Oragel. If something comes up and it's my fault, I'll go down there. And of course, Billie, she would tell you a lie if the truth sounded better. She don't care. She'd go up a flagpole to lie to you as opposed to stand on the ground and tell you the truth. Because she said that LaLazy was in rehab and the only one that could get her out was only Billie. Only Billie. Now, mind you, Leilani, it's not a mental institution, and I'm not picking on that. She can check herself out. She's 22 years old. She can say, I'm healed. Hell, Candace Wells did it. She just needed a ride. So she's saying that the FBI can't get her. Chatham County can't get her. She's saying Georgia Bureau of Investigation can't get her. Only Billie. So she said she picked her up, went to the China King, had some egg drop soup, some egg rolls, some beef and broccoli, some lo mein, and people were running with it. They were in here going, you need to do your research, Brooks. Well, I did. Because to clear it up, again, here's Brett Buffington. She was arrested at home.
Circumstances of her arrest, where and when it happened?
We know she was picked up from her home and taken to the Chatham County Detention Center. That happened just as they were making that arrest or making that announcement on yesterday. They told us that they didn't want anyone to have any exclusives in this case. They would release this to every affiliate here in Savannah at the same time. And they kept their word to that. I can tell you that they called the news directors and they gave us a heads up that there was an announcement coming. They made that announcement. And we know that she was quickly booked into the Chatham County Jail. She was supposed to have a bond here.
She was arrested at home. They lied again. They lied again.
Leilani, the prime suspect, in her son's disappearance and death, they don't believe she's a flight risk. Leilani says that she and her mother, Billie Howell, spend their days in the backyard of their home because it's too difficult to be inside with reminders of Quentin and the fact that he's gone.
It's too hard to be inside with reminders of Quentin. They took his memorial and put it in the backyard. So while they were out there smoking and drinking, they're looking at his memorial. Make it make sense. Do y'all remember that when they had the memorial moved to the backyard? So they're looking at all these stuffed animals and flowers that people are leaving for Quentin in the backyard. I think the two dum-dums were in the backyard because they were afraid that they were wiretapped. They're sitting out there like Tom Cruise in that movie, The Firm. We have to talk outside. The house is bugged. Stupid asses.
Every day that goes by is less tears and more anger, not knowing what's happening, if that's even understandable. You wake up every day angry, hoping that you're going to get a phone call, and that phone call just doesn't come.
CCPD and the FBI haven't released many details.
I'm going to clarify this for LaLazy. You're waiting on a phone call and that phone call doesn't come. No, LaLazy, you didn't want that phone call because your mother's exact words when she was on another channel is, no body, no charges. You didn't want that phone call. That's what they believed. And some district attorneys will not touch a murder case without a body. They won't do it. It's one thing to convince 12 people how a murder occurred and that that person that's sitting across from them is guilty of it. But when you don't even have a body, it's almost impossible. You've always got one person on there going, well, how do we know when they're not alive somewhere? No, Leilani. No. You didn't want that phone call.
Details in the case and haven't said why they believe Quentin is in a landfill. Police say they're doing that to preserve any potential court cases down the line. Leilani and Billie tell me that they get their new information about the case from watching the news and that they feel all they can do now is hope.
We want something great to come out of this, but mostly we want him not to be found in that landfill. We want him found happy and
thank you, Billie, for clearing that up. We want him not to be found in that landfill. Why would you not want him found? Right here are your words, Billie. Quentin has passed. Nope. Quentin was murdered. He's in a landfill and my daughter done it. She has no memory of it. We want him not to be found. What? They've already been told. They've already been told. Listen to her again. Neither of them are crying, by the way.
hope. We want something great to come out of this, but mostly we want him not to be found in that landfill. We want him found happy and alive.
Happy and alive. They both have already been told. Happy and alive. Oh my gosh.
We want him back in our arms, holding us.
We want him back in our arms, holding us. No, you hold babies. They don't hold you. You're a little too big for Quentin to pick up. You see Quentin picking up Billie or Leilani?
We're just hoping that he's in somebody's house and they're feeding him, and they were hoping that, you know, maybe they wanted a baby or couldn't have a baby. Maybe they thought they were his savior.
Save him from what? Then why aren't you knocking door to door? You guys already blamed Diana. Thank you, Lone Wolf. Gift and memberships. Lala's a member. Canadian Cookie's a member. Lisa Durr's a member. I think we're going to have a members live tomorrow. We got some stuff to go over that we need to do on a members live. Maybe they thought he was their savior, and you're okay with that? You're outside of the garage door with your mom?
Well, it's not. That's their best hopes at this point.
Chatham County police say they have no reason to believe that Quentin was abducted or kidnapped, and they have evidence that suggests he was placed in a dumpster and that his remains are in the landfill that they're currently searching.
I love how Shay ended it like this. Police have said they have no reason to believe that he was abducted or kidnapped. They believe that he was put into a dumpster and he is now in a landfill. The best thing we can hope for is for them not to find Quentin. That's what you were hoping for. You sickos. Listen to Shay again.
That's their best hopes at this point.
Chatham County police say they have no reason to believe that Quentin was abducted or kidnapped, and they have evidence that suggests he was placed in a dumpster and that his remains are in the landfill that they're currently searching. Leilani Simon hasn't been charged with anything at this time, but police say she is the only suspect in her son's disappearance. We'll keep you updated as we learn more.
Only suspect. He was put in a dumpster. And they knew as they were standing outside the garage that there was a major search going on 7 miles from them. 7 miles from them at the landfill looking for Quentin. Now, this is going to be hard to see. It's not autopsy pictures or anything like this, but I think it's very haunting. If you need to take a break, I understand. This is a drone video of the agents from Quantico going in to start to search for Quentin. And how dare these people judge this team of people that were given such a almost impossible task. I will never understand it. They even said, oh my gosh, the protesters are doing more than them. The protesters were cheering them on. They were like, no, they're doing God's work out there. After this, we're going to have a positivity clip, I promise. Look at how they had to section out the trash and go through it with hazmat suits on, head to toe, respirators, the whole 9 yards, and they were catching shit for it. I just can't believe people. I just can't. Disgusting. Disgusting. I cannot believe it. Hold on one second. Okay, I apologize for that, guys. I had someone at the door. I've got in all these different requests for stuff that needs to be done around here. But I'm telling you, this case, well, lots of cases, just make me so upset. They just, I don't know if it's, I mean, it's anger for sure, but I just cannot believe these people. I just cannot believe these people. And like the defense attorneys, you guys know how I roll. Everyone deserves a good defense. We have to have due process, not just for the defendant, but for the victims. We have to make sure the right person is behind bars. But this wanting to throw charges out and quash these journals pisses me to no end. We talked yesterday about Alexi Treviso. They're suing the hospital. The hospital didn't put her baby in the trash. It's insane. How about some positivity? Who wants a positive video? Something to get us in the Christmas spirit. How about it? Bonafide said, yes, please. Snow said, yes, this world is full of evil. It is, and it's getting worse. It's getting worse. I understand there's the argument, well, it's because of social media. These things have always gone on. I'm seeing a trend that I didn't hear about when I was growing up. Telling you right now. So as I said at the beginning of the show, we're 5 months away from Christmas. You all know that is my favorite holiday. If it wasn't for my husband, I would have the house decorated for Christmas all year long. It's OJ's favorite holiday too. And some places are already starting to put out Christmas stuff and have Christmas sales.
Christmas? That's right. I said Christmas. Some say now is the best time to start holiday shopping, but some are taking that summer Christmas spirit to a whole new level. No surprise, Will Gantz has our inside look at Christmas in July.
It's time for Christmas in July, the summertime celebration of all things sparkly, jingly, and Kris-Kringly.
Santa's coming to town.
Bars and restaurants in Chicago, Memphis, Atlanta, and beyond, going full-on festive. Online, Christmas in July racking up 310 million mentions on TikTok. As temperatures soar around the country, celebrating a cool Yule now might actually help you beat the heat this summer.
If you put up a Christmas tree in your living room now, you would feel a little bit cooler just because of the associations to it.
Good news for serious Santa stans.
1, 2, 3.
Christmas!
Christmas shopping is well underway at Decorators Warehouse in Arlington, Texas.
There's just kind of a pent-up demand. It's been almost 7 months since Christmas, and now they're ready to go again.
Better Homes and Gardens says that summer is the time to start any Christmas DIY projects. No longer reserved for just the North Pole, Christmas in July is for everybody.
Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color?
A lot of people love to come in because there's not crowds yet, so it's much easier to shop. Selection's best, so there's a lot of reasons to come in early.
It's so funny to see snow scenes when we're in the middle of a heat wave. Will Gantz joins me now with more on this. All right, well, what's the backstory here? Why Christmas in July, and how do we get involved?
Okay, so Christmas in July started, allegedly, according to local...
Folklore?
Yes, folklore. At a camp in North Carolina in 1933. They were kind of doing exactly what we're doing here today, talking about how to beat the heat. They were like, well, why don't we just celebrate Christmas in July on the 24th and 25th of July? And they had a gift exchange, fake snow, all of that stuff. And so if people want to get involved, you can do some of that too. You know, you listen to your Christmas music, there's Spotify playlists ready to go. I was doing that this morning. And like you heard in the piece there from Dr. Brown, who works at Brown University, celebrating Christmas in July actually can help you beat the heat because of the way that you might experience the heat wave can be mitigated by your memories of Christmas and the temperatures associated with it. So read a little bit of the Polar Express, watch a little bit of Home Alone or Buddy the Elf or whatever your favorite Christmas movie might be. And of course, it's not going to change the temperature outside, but it might change your experience of the temperature outside.
Interesting. Maybe a little frozen eggnog instead of a frozen margarita.
I love that idea.
There we go, getting creative. So if you do start your Christmas shopping, for those who don't procrastinate like I do, What do people say? Is there something in particular you should be looking for right now?
Well, according to those Santa super shoppers that I spoke to there in
Super shoppers.
in Arlington, Texas, if you're looking for a specific theme, right? So maybe you want a Grinch theme or a Nutcracker theme, you got to get that stuff now because that is very limited. The other things that they say that you should be getting is the greenery. So a tree, a specific tree, the Real Touch garland, which is very in right now. Get your greenery in July because that stuff runs out quick.
Oh, so this is when you get the good stuff for your Christmas decor.
And at a discount, too.
Love it. Love a discount.
What's your favorite Christmas movie? I have to ask.
Oh, it's a tie between Elf and Nightmare Before Christmas, if you consider Nightmare Before Christmas a Christmas movie.
I love that. Mine is also Elf, but I am a big Home Alone.
Oh,
1 and 2.
It's really hard to pick.
I
You
know.
and I are both obsessed with
We
Christmas
love
movies,
Christmas
so,
around here.
We'll talk more about this. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
Hi, everyone. George.
5 months away. I have no problem with having it in July. If it wasn't for the fact that we have so many summer birthdays, then I'd be like, yeah, let's have Christmas. Seems like there was a lot of full moons in September, if you know what I mean. My birthday, my son's birthday, my daughter-in-law's birthday, my husband's was a few weeks ago. I do not like the cold. I don't care about scarves, coats, socks. I have a runny nose all winter because I will not put socks on. Thank you so much. I'm not buying it for the super sticker. Thank you, Kat, for the super sticker. Mystic Rose became a new member. We had some gifted memberships today. Thank you very much for that because I'm putting together a members live tomorrow. Knock on wood, unless something happens around here. I appreciate you guys very much, and especially piling in here to talk about Quentin Simon. Because I do not want this little boy forgotten. What he has been through in his tiny little life is just heinous. And the audacity of his grandmother that was put in charge by the courts, not a civil agreement, by the courts as a permanent guardian to make sure he was safe, just said, it's fine. It's fine. I think the chief said it best. Listen to this.
And we believe that this was the right move today to be able to do that. She doesn't deserve a Thanksgiving, quite frankly, if I can go off script a little bit. Quentin deserves that.
She doesn't deserve a Thanksgiving, but I'm supposed to believe that the chief was okay with Billie taking her to China King before bringing her to the pokey? No. Neighbors have already said they went to the house. Brett Buffington told the story. It's a little nuts out there, but it's okay. Just watch where you step. All right, I'm going to be back here in about an hour and a half. We have some things to go over about the Long Island serial killer. Thank you again for being here for baby Quentin. Thank you for being so supportive of this channel. I appreciate you guys so much. Feel free to share the lives or whatever you want to do. Give it a thumbs up, whatever suits you. Whatever you feel comfortable with. You're the best chat, best community, and the mod squad, you rock. See you back here in about an hour and a half. You guys are the best.